Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Holly Lotus from Shameless Explorations, and I'm here today with Jillian from Ascendant Woman Wisdom and the Ascendant Woman Wisdom card deck. And we have just been making these videos and playing with her card deck. This is what they look like. Oh, we were both prepared today.
Yeah.
Last week we tried to grab the cards and we could not find the top.
The top card. We've been practicing, obviously.
We're so profesh this time. So what we did last time, what we're doing in these videos is just introducing how to play with card decks, and specifically Jillian's card deck that she created. And I interviewed Jillian months ago in my group, and what I thought was fun about her card deck is that it was like having a coach in your pocket. Like, you have your own coach. You can pull a card and coach yourself with these cards, and because they are really guiding source. So then we thought it would be fun to just play with sharing how to play with the cards, or how we'd use them in coaching, how they would apply in your life or in someone else's. If you're a coach, how do you use them with a client? So what we did last week with the cards was I actually just brought something up that was going on in my world, and then we pulled a card at one point through the video to see how the card could support me in discovering. And so what I'm going to share again is the card from today, or from this is the card that I pulled last week. And it says, "Dear one, are you paying attention to your intuition? It will communicate with you in words, pictures, body sensations, and even tastes or smells. Slow down, take several deep breaths, and dial into where those inner nudges want to guide you. Test drive your intuition each day by following your hunches. Using intuition is an ascendant woman's secret source."
Yeah.
And
so good.
And then Jillian coached me through, like, just what does that mean for me?
Yeah.
And so do you want to say more about what we're going to do today with this video?
So just before we got on to the recording here, Holly caught me up to date with what's happened since the last time we spoke, which is really exciting. And that's the journey every client goes through, that the pot gets stirred on a coaching call, and then it's what happens between those calls that really is where coaching meets the road. Like, that's where the rubber meets the road. Things start to happen. Things start to unfold. And so Holly has got this great advancement that's happening, that who knew that it would open up this way?
Yeah, so basically my entire life has changed.
Yeah, it just completely flipped around.
Mm-hmm.
And actually within the last 24 hours. So Holly, just give a little, bottom line way that this has really shifted. Now, before you go there, let me just add. So the main focus last week was Holly was talking about this big move she's going to do to Seattle with her daughter, who's going to start school there in the fall. And so that came with it all sorts of ways of how to really take care of herself when she's traveling back and forth for maybe an hour to an hour and a half each way, which is a big deal. Mm-hmm. With maybe 2 very wet dogs in the car because it might be raining because it's Seattle. Anyway, so that was really the topic, how to stay in fun and ease and really take care of herself. So Holly, let's kind of catch up with, where are you now? What's happening?
Well, as I read through the card, first I'm going to say that how has to do with intuition. And then you reminded me of the dogs. So let me talk about the dogs first, because I want to go in every direction.
Yeah.
But so the hard part was going to be having 2 dogs while my daughter's in school, and I won't have in the beginning, like we don't know anybody. I don't know the area. So eventually I'll get into a routine. We'll see how that goes. And we'll have places to go. In the beginning, I'll be driving my daughter an hour and a half and then have the 2 dogs. So what evolved with that is my daughter said, what if we left one of the dogs here with Dan, who is my ex-boyfriend, and take one of the dogs with us, and then it won't be so hard having 2 dogs, which is interesting because she's pretty attached to both dogs. So she was willing to just say, like, he likes it here. He doesn't like the wet climate. So let's leave him for a little while we test it. So then things became easier. Yeah. So things in that direction became much easier because I'll have one dog. He's a puppy. I'm training him anyway, and he's learning different things. So we can teach him how to have this lifestyle. The other dog's a little more set in his ways and a little different. So it'll just create ease in a way. So that's one thing that shifted just by bringing up the energy and being like, that's not going to really be fun for me. So,
congratulations. That is a big shift. There's definitely yeah.
So it's interesting. Like when you say it out loud or when you talk about it, a thing that just happened to be different now, sometimes it's like, right? Like, okay, that's something. But it's actually a big deal. That was something I was asking for.
Exactly.
And this new way to do it showed up.
Yes.
And within a week, I think this was last week.
Yes, it was. It was exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So the dog situation changed. And then following my intuition has to do with an experience that I just had this week. I wasn't feeling very settled about a trip that I was going on to Nicaragua all of the month of June. It was fun and exciting in the beginning when we were planning, and then we're getting really closer to going. And something happened at the property we're supposed to stay at that made it feel unsafe. And my intuition said, oh, this is a no, we need to change our mind and not go. And I wanted to follow that. And I told the people I was going with that I wanted to follow that. And they all really still wanted to go. So I said, that's fine. Because if my intuition still said on the day to go that it was no good, then I would just let them go without me. So I was, okay, fine, we won't cancel now. And then something else evolved and my intuition hit me harder. Like, this is not a safe situation. And so I called off the entire trip for everybody because, we got to be the bad guy, but we have to follow our intuitions. But I called it off. I'm not taking my daughter. The other girls, they started to see it in the way that I was. And so they decided they're not going. So we're just canceling it.
Fantastic.
And following those signs. So that was just the intuition showing up in a way that I could really, really follow it well and feel myself in it.
Beautiful.
And then, because we're not going to Nicaragua for all of June, now next week we're going to move to Washington instead of waiting until August or July. And now we have a month of testing out my daughter's school. But the best part about that is that they're only in school for 2 days right now. So I don't have to drive an hour and a half, 5 days a week to do the testing. Now I can do the testing for a month, which was what I was going to give myself, the 30 days, remember?
I
can test it out for 1 month. Right. Only driving 2 days a week and see how that settles. So that's totally doable for me and my body.
Yeah.
And a great tester and a great way to test out all of the little things in that experience.
Beautiful.
So it's bumped up our timeline. Everything that's shifted and changes just feels so light and exciting.
Yeah.
And really, if you think about it, I say my entire life has changed, and it has. Just these few little things that shifted around, that if we see what that is and acknowledge what actually happened, everything changed. I was looking at a certain topic and issue and was asking for something to show up easier and better and more fun for my body and me. And then it did.
And even in in the conversation last week, it was about safety for your body because of the spine surgery.
Yeah.
And you circle back around with that, with safety for in Nicaragua. There's so much here that I want to unpack in some little pieces. One of the things was really having you, and because you are so body focused and you do listen to your intuition, and that's what I want to. Holly is such a beautiful model for that, a really good representative for that. And during our coaching session, it was really like, check in with your body. What's going on there? And we could really pay attention to that and really support that. And again, you were saying about your intuition telling you, no, this is not a good idea. And that automatically, and you could feel the no. And you recognize it because it takes practice to recognize these experiences. But once you get to really build your confidence and your trust in yourself there, this is where the ascendant woman and the ascendant wisdom part of the card deck comes in, is that you start to really trust your own inner self and your own inner workings. And that's really important.
Thank you. Do you want me to describe some of the things that I felt?
Yes, there is. There's one other piece because it's so cool that you do. So you've got the second nudge, another piece of information. So you kind of left it open, but you paid attention. And people started to come in and say, well, let's do it. It's going to be okay, yada, yada. And there was still the no, but you loosened up a bit on it, and you had marked it. And then the other piece of information came in, and then it was a very clear no. And that there is a card in the Ascendant Woman Wisdom deck that actually is about know what you want what you want. And that's the piece I want to highlight here, that you get to want what you want, because that's where you're really putting a stake in the ground, because other people and other influences are going to come in and start to try and rock you off your place there. And so it's like, oh, wait, maybe I'm off, maybe I'm wrong, and you start to doubt yourself. So what you did, Holly, you came back into it and you went, and it's so great. I'm going to be the bad person here, and I'm calling the whole thing off, right? And
I don't care, I'll be the bad guy.
Right. But now that is leadership. That's really you trusting and leaning into your own feminine wisdom, that real place of knowing and being clear about wanting what you want. And ultimately, it's about safety for your daughter, you, and the people that you're going to travel with. And it was just a big, fat, resounding no. And then to follow on with that takes courage. Because it does.
We've been planning it for 2 months now.
Right. And a lot of excitement. You know, the dream is being built and the whole idea of it. And then just to kind of go, pull the plug out and just go, no. And just watch it all dissolve. Yeah. And stand alone in it. So I'm just like cheering you on. I should have like poppers with like things exploding. Because that took courage and absolute like trusting in your own wisdom. So that's why I was so excited.
Thank you. It was scary to say to people who I invited on this excursion. I created this whole thing like we need to do this together.
Yes.
I wrangled them in. I got them excited. We all shopped for a couple months and decided what we needed. I was the ringleader, and then I just was like, nope, and that's kind of like scary, but
Yes.
in any position that you're in, even with being parents, you
Yes.
get kids excited to do
Yes.
things, and then
Yes.
no, I'm sorry, we can't go to Disneyland.
Yes.
And now something came up, I have to pay for braces, and I can't afford a trip to here or there or
Right.
whatever. And now I have to ruin the thing. But that's leading in a certain, because you're taking care of them.
Exactly.
You know, actually, we just found out that Jimmy needs braces. And so now we can't do this because his mouth hurts.
Right.
You know, we got to take care of the essential things.
Right.
And that's a place to apply it, like for parents in a business.
Yes.
Of course, leaderships and leadership positions in business have to be able to take the risks.
Yeah. And it really is standing in your authority, really owning your leadership and unleashing your influence. Like that for me is the core elements of the Ascendant Woman, and really leading from feminine power, because we are so encouraged to override that inner knowing, that inner place of our own wisdom. And sometimes we can't even fully articulate it. Mm-hmm. But we know it's there. If we just pay attention and just allow it to emerge, we'll find out that it was right on.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I want to say thank you, because without this fun exploration last week, I mean, what would be happening this week? I have no idea.
Right.
What we opened the door to with our conversation, with vulnerability of my sharing and yours, just with questions. And it's really easeful. If you're watching and you want to see the other one, go find I'm not sure what it's labeled or whatever. Find the one where I was coached.
I'll make sure it's linked.
See how that that session went. It wasn't hard. It wasn't like we had to like really dig in and cut holes. It's just like guidance and ease and what's up. Okay, cool. Let's talk about it. And it just brings the energy forward. So without doing that, where would I have been without being like, okay, follow the intuition, you know, how strong would that have been? So thank you for playing and guiding. And
I couldn't have done it without you.
I know. See, that's the fun of it. Coaching. You're my coach. A lot of clients put everything on their coach, right? But this is really like this team thing that, like, if you find a good coach, it's a team thing.
It is.
Because they're going to be like, okay, what's in your life? And now what do you think about that?
Yeah.
And how do you move through that? And what is your experience? Instead of do this.
No.
And then come back and tell me how good you did on what I said. That's a different way.
and let me evaluate and rate it for you.
Right. Let me tell you what was wrong.
Yeah.
And what you have to do better next time.
Now, it's not to say that I won't question reality. And sometimes I'll bring out the sword, you know. And I do work with the heart and the sword. And I do have those hardcore conversations, and all done with the heart as well. Like the heart and the sword is always present. But you know, our minds are, a friend of mine once said long ago, and it's always stuck with me, our minds are a dangerous neighborhood and we should never go in there alone. So it is about, it is about questioning our own reality sometimes, because we do make up a lot of, well, everything's made up, but is that in service to what is really essential and important to you? So for you last week, and it still is today, and that's what's really operating, that it was how do you have the journey be fun, joyful, and easeful? And that's what I'm seeing has really opened up the way, because you were paying attention and listening, and that will always pay off in the end. So
Yes.
I'm excited for you. I am
Thank
so
you.
excited for you.
I'm excited too. And I want to say that the part where I canceled for everybody, because there's really just unsafe and I needed them to understand. What follows is conversation, because if you're going to choose you and put you first and it affects others, then there's conversations. So with me and the others, another part of what I'm doing is like the conversation. Okay, we canceled this trip.
Yes.
And it wasn't safe and we can't do it, but that doesn't mean that we can't do something. So now let's get together, and they're supposed to come over in a couple hours, because this literally happened last night.
Yes.
They're supposed to come over in a couple of hours, and we get to talk about what would be the fun next step. And I'm going to say, now that the timeline isn't so solid, I want to go to Washington and I want to push it back. How does that work in your world? And we make something work together. So I want to mention that part, because it did affect other lives in my choices and in my intuition. And so part of my values, we found out last week, or shared last week, is, you know, the relationships with the people who I involve.
Staying
it's
in
all
connection.
important. Even if I met them, it's very important for me to see, am I relating in communion, or am I just creating like this great distance between us? How am I relating with you? And so we get to create this new experience, and I don't know when it'll be or where we'll go, or I don't know anything about it, but it's not like, okay, cancel, that's it, we're never doing this, and it's over, and I am the bad guy. You know?
Yes, exactly.
It's more like, what can we do that will be even more fun and safe and create greater for our lives? That's the new direction. And so I just wanted to speak to that, because they did affect others, and so it's important to clean it up.
That's beautiful, because that was there in part of our conversation after the initial piece that we worked on, and that is, whenever something changes at this level, it is about bringing completion to it, honoring what was or what was going to be, and having everybody's voices heard. Like, I'm disappointed, I'm actually mad that you did that, but to have that space held so that you can be in the conversation in communion, and really then be complete and connected again afterwards, so that the new can emerge.
Speak to that completion. It's I don't see it. I'm like, we just need conversations to keep it going. And you're like, actually, it's completion on that event. So it's fun to see it applied in that way, or think of it, the completion on that event. So great. That's I did more good things that you taught me.
I'm
doing completion tonight.
You are. Because it was a high dream, you know, it was actually almost fully formed. And so now you get to really honor that with each other, and honor each other's process. And you get to speak how vulnerable it was for you to speak up like that, you know? And wow, gosh, what a great conversation it's going to be. I just pulled this card, and I think it might speak to some of this. Mind if I read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
And I just lifted the deck. I didn't sort of go fancy or anything. I just lifted the deck, and this is what showed up. Dear one, you are an evolving presence in the universe. You came here with one express purpose: to be a generative force of nature. You are here to create something out of nothing for the sheer enjoyment of having an expansive experience. And you are here to learn how to let your creations melt back into nothingness. What do you need to let go of? What needs to melt back into nothingness? What will you create next with the incredible generative force that lives through you? Play on, you evolving universal presence. Play on.
That's so good. It is. I love it I just love it. Every time we pull a card, it's like, oh, it fits. I get it. No explanation needed.
It's such an affirmation, right? Right.
Right.
Oh, it's beautiful,
Thank
Holly.
you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, I know that I want to know what happens after the conversation.
Of course, I'll keep you updated. I want to say to those watching, I'm curious if you've had events like this happen, and if you see this, like, can you share with us where you've really followed your intuition, even when it was really hard,
right?
Or when somebody was telling you you're wrong, it's fine, we should do this anyway, or you're just wrong, gaslighting.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, that lovely one.
So much. Yeah. Just let us know, and it's like, how does it sit with you to follow your intuition? If you were in a similar situation or have had one, how did you handle it? What would you do differently? Those are things I'd love you to play with just after watching, because we do come on here and share about things that go on in our life, just as really to be the invitation, an example to, like, this is how you can use your cards. This is how you can bring up an energy and move through it. Just different ways to play with shifting your life in any form, in any area of your life, and making it greater and more easeful and fun. Those are important to me, obviously.
Very, very.
But making it more connective, if that's one of your values, making it more lucrative financially. How can you play with these energies to create your life in a way that really lights you up, whatever that is? Because in shameless explorations, what I love to explore is your pleasures. Like, what are your pleasures? What really lights you up? What do you love what would you love your life to be like? And so that's where I come from when I say these words. And Jillian comes from a different place, like lift you up and to be the leader of your life. And it's really similar.
It is.
If you enjoy
really
your
connect.
life, you will start to lead it and not let anybody interfere.
And I would say, Holly, that your pleasures are connected into your values, which is connected into your actual soul or life purpose, however you want to call it. And so that's where we actually meet. We're just coming at it from slightly different places. But that's what I think is so delicious here.
Yeah, and so you might hear me say words that are different from Jillian's, but we're getting to the same point. Like, she says completion, and I'm like, let's talk about all that happened and what's next.
Yes.
So we have the different words and different, like, so here's something interesting. When you're doing this, like, work for yourself, you'll hear words that connect to you, or an energy that connects with you. And when you're listening and hearing those things, that's a sign of where to follow. So I just want to, because that came up right now, just share, like, everybody speaks in different words, although we're all going the same places.
And we all want the same thing, you know, like, so the words I can relate to: ease, joy, fun, you know, like, sign me up. How can I have more of that in my life? How can I pay attention to, instead of going, oh God, it's going to be an hour and a half each way. Okay, I'll just put up with it. No, like, you get to, if those are qualities and energies that are important to you, then how do you bring them in? How do you create with that? And that's what our invitation is.
That's great. So I just got a visitor. My friends are here to do the completion.
Yes.
I didn't even realize what time it was. Whoops.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Holly.
Yes, thank you so much. And thanks everybody. Please let us know what you got out of this in the comments.
Yeah. Love to you all, and we'll catch you again. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.